All right, so we're going to do lesson 6 today. And because in the past, students have become willfully ignorant when it comes to I'll show you right here. I'll open it up. In lesson 6, they do this weird thing, and I don't know why they do it, where they, instead of making it 3 separate bubbles for lesson 6, or excuse me, for bubble 6 in lesson 6, instead of making this 3 separate bubbles, they make it 1 bubble that goes into 3 bubbles. With the confusing instruction, keep going, choose your, complete as many as you can. That is a little ambiguous as far as like, oh, as many as you can. All right, I'm done. We're going to do all of them. Okay, the assignment is to do all of them. We're going to do it together like regular, but somehow people are, they go ahead and they're like, as many as you can. All right, I'm done. No. Even with all 3 of these, it's still a relatively short lesson. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay. No updates since last time on the calendar. So till the 20th on a couple of those assignments for deadlines, but it's up to you to stay on top of them. All right, lesson 6, bubble 1. Let's jump right in and work on some more user interface controls. Excuse me. With our first activity here being some more console.log stuff. If you hit run here, it's broken. Okay, and like, I don't really know how to be like, okay, solve this one since we haven't really learned it. We talked about this last time, and if you weren't here last time, you definitely have not heard it, about data types. Okay, our 2 main data types are going to be strings, which are anything wrapped in quotes. Okay, single quotes also work, but it's wrapped in quotes and it's taken as words that the computer is going to do something with. It's not run as a program. It doesn't have a value. Unlike numbers have a value. You can do math with them. It is that quantity. It's the way we think about numbers. Okay, but just having text out in space is not going to work. Okay, this is neither a number nor a string at this point. If you just saw this one line, you would think green was a variable. Again, we haven't talked about those yet. But in order for it to work, it needs to be wrapped in quotes. Okay, otherwise, it's going to be an issue, which that's sort of, let me see, hold on. What did it say when we originally ran it? Okay, so what did the debug console say when we ran it? Okay, can't figure out what green is. Perhaps you meant the string. Hey, it does actually give you some good hints. Okay, the debug console isn't just a debug console. It's an AppLab helping tool. Okay, it says error line 2. Okay, perhaps you meant the string green, like as in the word, okay, with quotes. And that is what we wanted. We wanted it to be green wrapped in quotes. And it's doing that thing where, there we go. And then run it to be sure. And we're good. All right, let's go on to bubble 2. That and like that. Okay, bubble 2, let's hit run and see what happens. And there's some issues. Okay, error, can't figure out what blue is. Perhaps you meant the string blue with quotes. Yes. Okay, not a secret. Well, first you can look at the example of the ones that did work. Okay, even if you didn't have this hint right here, you would know that there's something wrong with this line. Okay, these parameters, okay, these are parameters just like the functions that we wrote for under the C, functions that receive that extra bit of information to make it customizable. Oh wait, no, that's not what I want. The internet just got in? No. Maybe it did. No, we're good. Okay. You can see these other ones. All of the parameters in this, it's expecting as strings. Okay. Even this font size, which is a number, it's the value, it's still expected, the computer's expecting it in the form of a string. And it's not going to work here. This line 4 is not going to work if you send it the word blue without quotes. It's not able to interpret it. Now, in this particular circumstance of AppLab, if you are using the set property blocks or any of those, the dropdowns will, the options from the dropdown are given in the correct format. So it's not really an issue. But as far as being able to debug, which is the name of the lesson there, that is the point. Okay, and let's go on to the next one. I'll give you some more heads up here in a second, or like a lead. Okay, run the program, see how it works. Debug the program so the smiley face does not go off the screen. So we hit run. Nothing happens, the mouse over, and it's gone. Okay, we did something like this with the Hawk bubble or challenge from last time, with where we will reposition it to a random location on the screen, and the Hawk and Sparrow mouse over thing, which this is another mouse over thing. It has to do with the location of the random placement after mouse over. Okay, I'll give you like a couple minutes to sort of dig through it and see what you come up with. I want you to solve these problems on your own, or at least take a good guess. And of course, we'll go over it, but you're going to learn more if you take a second and try to figure it out yourself, and then double check. That'll be good. All right, so the issue here is this relocating, okay, setting the smiley face image icon, its X property to a random number between 0 and 400, and a Y property 0 to 500. Okay, for X equals 400 is somewhere over here, since this is X 320. Okay, and Y equals 500 is somewhere, well, that's not what I want to do. Y equals 500 is somewhere, what is going on? So, what is happening? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Y equals 500 is way below, plus what we're concerned with is this top left corner of any image. That's its location. So what we need to do is change the random range to something that keeps it on the screen. Okay, this is the exact same as the Hawk and Sparrow thing. So what's our range? Well, first of all, you can't really see the outline of the image. You don't need to change the background color, but I'm going to change it just so that you can see. Of course, I changed to the worst possible. There we go. And does it show up when I'm here in design? I don't know why it's not showing the dotted perimeter. Oh, you know why? This isn't an image. This is like a button or a text area with an icon in it. That's why it's not showing. Never mind. Okay, regardless, this thing you can see in the top left corner here where the dotted lines are, that's its XY position. We need it to be so that the random range is somewhere between 0 and 320 minus its width, so that where it jumps to never goes off the screen this way. And the same thing up and down. We want it to be somewhere between Y equals 0 and Y equals 450 minus its height, so that it never jumps off the screen. Okay, and I actually need to reset it because I changed all the dimensions. Don't go anywhere yet. Okay, so right now the image, the XY image, this is as far right is X equals 0, and as far left as we want is X equals, let's say 120. So our random X relocation will be 0 to 120, which is clearly a lot less than 400. And our random Y is going to be between 0 and Y equals 250. It says right there. So we'll go between 0 and 250. And now we run it and it stays on the screen, which is the point. Okay, let's go on to bubble 4. Okay, bubble 4. Here's an issue, and it hasn't been a huge issue since the beginning of doing functions. But you would, I will say almost never, but I'm going to go ahead and say never have a function definition inside of another function definition. And because these event handlers are inside of functions, event handlers are functions, you would never have an event handler inside another event handler either. Those are standalone commands, tools in the toolbox that are just out of the way. There's no reason to contain an event handler inside of another event handler. It would only become accessible at that point. And in this case, this is what's messing up here. If we hit run, and we're going to have to put up with the sound, and it's actually going to get kind of annoying for a second. We hit run. Okay, nothing happens. That's fine. There's clearly an icon here. Nothing happens. We hit play. Is it going to actually? I'll turn it down. Okay, everything seems fine. I hit stop. It stops. We go back. We try again. Go back up. Hit play. It's playing it twice. Hit stop, and it works regardless. Hit play. It's running. The stop is not stopping the initial play. Okay, and so you can follow it. If you follow the console log statements, you can see, all right, we hit run, nothing happens, of course, because there's nothing outside of the main event handler. We hit the up arrow. Okay, showing controls, beautiful. And we hit play, good, the playing song works. We hit stop, stop works. We hit play again. Oh, you know what? You do have to go hiding controls, showing controls, play. It runs play twice. Because that event handler is already active inside the other one, it's calling it both times. And so the solution is, like anything, make it look right first and then see what happens. Okay, none of these event handlers should be inside the other one. Okay, so you need to move them outside of them. I'm going to make some white space here. And we'll move all of these. Of course, I need to do this. Move all of these outside of the main event handler. Okay, and I think automatically, I think this looks instantly better, even if you're not familiar with how things work. But here we'll follow along the bottom. We hit show controls, play, stop, hide, show, play. It didn't do play 2 times like it did before. Okay, all of these function commands, or all these functions, need to be sort of independent so that they're accessible and they're not, gate kept behind other functions. So there is your issue on that one. Okay, I think you'll agree these lessons are relatively easy as far as just sort of technical challenges. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a minute for this one, and actually I'm gonna give you a 10 or 15-minute head start on all 3 of these. Hold on a second, folks. Hold on. Guys. Okay. I'm going to give you like 10 or 15-minute head start to do this one, the bubble 5, which is the make your prediction and run it. But you actually, I think last time we figured out that it locked you out, but you can delete answer and try again. So take a second, run through the code in your mind and see what's going to happen. And then there are 3 puzzles on bubble 6. We're going to do all 3 of them. Okay, but I'm going to give you some time to try and solve them on your own or together. All right, so go ahead and start on that, and we'll get back when it is time. Okay, go for it. Oh, really? Oh, Um, Weird. I mean, don't sweat it. I'm not gonna. I would never. And here we go. All right, so the bubble 5. Okay, if you just run through it in your head, you can see, okay, on the event blue button is clicked, some red button properties change. Okay, that's basically just teaching you, and the same thing for red blue, teaching you or forcing you to pay attention to the details for this sort of thing. It's pretty spelled out straight through. Hopefully most of you find it easy at this point just to, read through the text or read through the code. It's not too terribly complicated. Okay, so let's see what we have here. I'm going to turn down the sound so that there we go. That's good. Slightly less annoying. All right, let's see what happens. We hit run. Okay, well, first of all, there's an error line. There's no ID for rooster image. Okay, but let's see what happens. We click on cow. We get a moo and a text there. We hit rooster. Nothing happens. We hit pig. And it makes a rooster sound. It says rooster, but it's the pig button. All right, so first we have an error on line 8. It says the rooster image doesn't exist. Let's look in design mode and see this. Okay, clearly it is spelled this way in the element ID under properties. When you click on the drop down, it is also spelled correctly. This is why you don't type it in the event handler parameters, because it becomes very difficult to track down, or it becomes difficult to change things later. It's just a lot easier if you just click on the dropdown and choose the thing that you want, because it doesn't matter if it's spelled incorrectly, if it's spelled incorrectly here and here. If it's spelled the same, it's fine. But you're better off just choosing the dropdown so that regardless, it is the correct element ID. Okay, so at least the rooster button should work. All right, so clearly the rooster and the pig are switched, but you'll also notice that when you click on the one that will eventually be the pig one, it says pig up here and not where it's supposed to, I suppose. I think we're taking the cow one as the correct format. So you could do two things. You could change this to the pig. Well, this is probably the easiest way. The slightly less easy way is just to switch those lines of code with those lines of code. I'm just going to switch this rooster image event handler to the pig image and the pig image to the rooster image. Okay, so the text or the code lines up. Okay, rooster, cow, pig, but the text is in the wrong place. So let's look at the pig image, which is the middle one now. It says set the text to pig, which is what we want, but the element we're setting is this label called app name. Okay, and if your app is not running, you can mouse over and see what it's called. It says ID app name, and that's what it's setting. That's not what we want to set. What we want to set is what's being set when the cow or rooster image are clicked, and that's the animal text, which is this thing down here. So we just want to change this to set animal text property to the string pig. And what's up? Yeah. Just a second. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's go on to 6B. Okay, if you hit finish, it will take you back to here. And let's go on to 6B, because we are doing all of them. You missed that part. Okay, run the program, see how it works. Let's see what happens. We hit run. Okay, so apparently that's looping. And the go back button doesn't work. Okay. Firstly, the sound works, but I don't want to listen to it forever. So we're good. And now our issue is we have an event handler for this details button, takes us to page 2. We just need this button to make it go back to page 1. And this button is called, if we look on the page, it is called go back button, go home button. And so go back button, when it's clicked, we want to set the screen to home screen. Okay, and now we hit run and we go 1 and back and forth. And it works great, super easy. Okay, finish, and we go back to 6C. And 6C, we get here, and what are our issues? Okay, so excited isn't working. Is calm working? Weird. All right, so let's see what we've got. We've got, we don't need new images. Run to see how it works. Excited button, pick a song, theme. Okay, so, I mean, yeah, it's not that hard. Well, first of all, let's look at it for a second. There is no excited button, event handler. There's one for calm and one for the tired button, which I feel like a lot of people have either moved on or what have you. But what's going on here, this border width thing, is actually kind of neat, I think, that when you click on each one, it's changing. I could just show you from here. Look at the buttons. Right now, we only have one for calm and for tired. But it changes the border width of the image to make it look like it's pressed in. So it's a clean way of showing which button is active at that time. And in fact, well, we'll get rid of sound later. Why is the calm button not breathing loop? Is it just super quiet? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. So we've got 2 that work. We just need 1 more, which, just so it's not super crowded, I'm going to put in some white space and a comment. So it's going to look a lot like these. Let's just go ahead and build it together. Okay, so this is an event handler for the button called excited button. Okay, and the first thing we have are 3 lines, our set properties that are going to change the border width so that, it looks, depressed, I guess. And so it's these same 3 lines of code, so it's fine. But for this, for any one of these, for tired button, it sets its own border width to 2 and sets the border width of the other 2 buttons to 0. In other words, getting rid of the border. So for excited button, we want excited button to be set to 2 and set the other 2 to 0. Okay, and let's see that if that works. We hit run, calm, tired, excited. There we go. Okay. The point being it's not a good line right there. The border width, which I think would be better in a different color or a bigger width to exaggerate it, but it's fine the way it is. Okay, and we need to set images and text. So let's go ahead and set property of is it main image? Sure, main image. What do we want to set it to? We want to set its image property. Now, up until now, folks, the only way that we've added images is with filling in the image property in design mode. But you can see how useful it is to have the image change as the app is running. Okay, so that's what's happening here is we're setting the image property of the image element, just to be, extra confusing. And you can choose an image. I always choose kittens just because why not? Oh yeah, this is a good one. Is this the one I used before? I don't know. Okay, so we'll set it to the string. Okay, so it's also, you can see the default, or when you bring in the set, I actually don't know if this is going to work. Is this gonna work? Hey, it did work. Okay. If you bring in the set property and what we just had before, set the image property of something, once again, you can see that the parameter that's supposed to go in there has to be a string. So whatever data type that the parameter is asking for, it has to be that. It doesn't make sense. You can't set a border width to the string 2 because that is not a border width. Okay, if it's wrapped in quotes, it's like the letter 2, okay, or the word 2. Okay, so border width needs a value, needs a number. Image properties need a string, which when you bring it in, it has that. Okay, so we need to set the image. We also need to set the text. So let's do a set property of the element called main text. And what property do we want to set? We want to set its text property. And let's go, I don't know. I'm just out of creativity right now. And then we need, okay, here's an important one. Stop sound. Stop sound stops whatever sound is playing. If you have multiple sounds going, you can stop an individual sound one at a time by naming it in the parameter here. But that's not our issue. We just want all the stop sounds. Okay, so we want to stop whatever existing sound there is. And since we want to stop all sound, we don't need a parameter for it. We'll just close it. And then we'll play the sound that we want. Okay, the stop sound has to come first to clear out whatever one is already playing. And we want to replace it with something we like. And I guess on a loop, but do we have kitten? Yes. Oh, do I have the sound off? It's kind of anticlimactic. Let's choose this and see what happens. And we hit run. Old stuff still works. Okay. To say it works is, let's just go with not loop. Okay, looping kitten is kind of. Okay. Yeah, looping kitten's not where it's at. But there we go. All right. Just basic properties. What do you want to happen on the screen? Well, I want to change the border width so it looks cool when it gets pressed. Okay. I don't know if it is actually reading well across the room as far as what the border width is doing. I'm going to exaggerate it and we'll mute it so we don't have to listen to. There we go. Okay. So maybe that looks a little better. It sort of looks like whatever one you're selected is pressed in. And that's yeah, and you could those are probably labels, I think. They're not necessarily buttons. And we want to set some images. We want to set some text. You just set the property. What do you want to set the property of? What do you want to change about it? And what do you want to change it to? It's easy. Okay. And I think that's it for 6. Bubble 7 is a quick checks for understanding that you can answer. Okay. What's one thing you really enjoyed about today's activity? Is there anything you found confusing, need extra help? Okay. And so that is the extent of instruction. You still have a bunch of time to catch up with anything else you are missing. Some of you have previous lessons to catch up. You should do those. Okay. That's it. Let me know if you have any questions.